Hey, Mike with Nerd Problems Gaming here, and today's video I'll be walking you through a new Nintendo Switch eShop sale and 10 must-own deals under $10 each, so let's get into it. The first game on today's list is Slay the Spire. Now I've talked about this game a couple times on the channel, but it's definitely one of my favorite deck building games there is. And so the general concept of the game is that you're trying to slay the spire or get to the top of a spire, which is a massive tower, and take out all the enemies along the way. And you'll actually have several different hero types that you can choose from, one of them being unlockable as you progress throughout the game, and each one has their own unique deck of cards and overall play style. And so what happens is that you'll go through a branching path starting from the bottom of the tower and working your way up, and you'll need to choose between different options like an easy monster battle, a difficult battle, maybe a rest area to heal yourself, and much more. And so depending on the path that you choose, this will lead to what type of enemies you might encounter. And so the smaller ones are obviously pretty easy to kill. You'll be able to use your starter base deck and take them out pretty easily. And so your deck is going to be made up of different base cards, and these can be things like dealing damage to an enemy, building up your shield for defense, and as time progresses you'll get a lot more advanced cards, and so you'll really develop a unique strategy for each playable character. One of the characters, for example, really focuses on doing damage via poison, and that can stack up significantly over time. And so again, you'll be doing that as one strategy for that character. Other characters have cards that really buff their defense. One of the characters is like a monk, and they have different play styles via stances. And so depending on what order you're playing the cards, you'll switch your stance, and that can alter your play style. And so it's a really cool concept, and it's incredibly addicting as well. Because on your way throughout the Spire, you'll acquire new cards, you'll be able to upgrade cards from your deck, get rid of weaker cards, and you'll also pick up a bunch of different relics along the way, giving you additional bonuses to help you throughout your quest. And so this is random every time. It's a roguelike game, so it's a different experience each time you climb the tower. And you'll have a lot of different options of how you want to build your deck, which just further adds to the replay value. The game is incredibly addicting, and it plays a lot like a turn-based RPG meets deck building game, and it's incredibly fun, and I highly recommend it. The next game on today's list is Heart and Slash. And so Heart and Slash is a 3D hack and slash brawler, and you play in a universe where machines have wiped out humanity, and all that remains are these machines and robots, and you'll play as a young robot Heart as they fight sort of a revolution against the evil all-powerful robot and machine system, which is the quality assurance system. And so it is a roguelike game, so definitely go into it being ready to die often. But it is a cool concept where it is this 3D action beat 'em up style game. But one thing that definitely stands out is the graphics. And so it looks like a game from the PS1, Nintendo 64-like era, and really reminds me of the classic Mega Man Legends series. But as you play through the game, you'll fight off rooms full of enemies, and you'll pick up a ton of different items your robot can utilize, making them stronger. So different armor types, weapons, things like guns, swords, and much more. There's actually over 100 different items to choose from that you can find throughout the game. And then each one of these weapons can really have a different feel and play style. So if you like hack and slash games, taking on hordes of enemies with some roguelike elements, I think you'll like this game as well. The next game on today's list is Under Hero. And so this game is really unique. It's really a mashup of several different genres into one. And so it takes some action platforming and combines that with turn-based RPGs, but has a high level timed attack mechanic as well. And it really reminded me of classic RPGs like Super Mario RPG. It also has an over-the-top, fourth wall breaking storyline that's incredibly fun as well. And so when you combine all that together, it leads to a really cool game. And so the general story is that you're playing as an evil minion, and he's assigned a quest to return 3 medallions back to the respective boss owners after a hero had defeated them and suddenly died. And so you're kind of the bad guy hero in this game, but you'll try and return those medallions while you're working for an evil overlord. And so again, it's a quirky adventure, but it has really fun platforming, cool combat. There's tons of secrets to find hidden throughout the different levels, but it really has a cool level up system, again similar to Super Mario RPG, where once you level up, you have different options to choose between, whether you want to increase your health, your attack, or your stamina. And so if you like turn-based RPGs with timed attacks, some fun platforming, and a cool story, I think you'll like this game as well. The next game on today's list is Death's Hangover. And so this game is more of a brick breaker Arkanoid style game, and it has a funny story where you're actually playing as one of Death's minions after his souls have been stolen from Dracula. And so you're working as Death's lackeys, and again need to go on a quest to steal back the souls from Dracula throughout this game. And so the game has various challenging stages where you'll need to fight off different enemies, solve different puzzle elements, get through the brick barriers, and you'll do that with a variety of power-ups that you find along the way. Some of them can enhance your paddle with things like making it longer or adding spikes to it to take out enemies. But then there's also different power-ups that will affect your balls, and so this can give you things like multi-ball, balls that shoot through walls, and much more. So there's definitely several different kinds of levels throughout the game. On top of that, you're also going to have to fight off different challenging bosses as well. And so once you've cleared all the stages on a given level, you'll move into a boss fight level, and each one of these bosses has a unique playstyle, challenging patterns, and so it's a lot of fun taking these on as well. As I mentioned, it has kind of a funny, over-the-top story, but if you're looking for a new brick breaker style puzzle game, I think you'll like this one as well. The next game on today's list is Burnout Paradise Remastered. And so this is an open world racing game, and it's incredibly fast paced and a ton of fun. And so there's not really a huge story by any means to the game, you're just really thrown into it and need to start racing. But the general premise of the game is that you have a beginner's license and kind of a beginner basic car, and you're thrown into Paradise City, and you need to go across the city, taking on various challenges, increasing your license level, and unlocking a bunch of new cars. And so there's different types of challenges throughout the game as well. It might be taking out a certain number of billboards across the city. Some of them might be just straight up racing, going from one point of the city to another. Others are like trick shot type races, where you're trying to do a bunch of different tricks and flips and earn the high score. Others are a race combined with taking out enemies so you can kind of sideswipe them and crash the enemies, and much more. And so it's really fast paced, but each one of the races and challenges doesn't take a ton of time. So it's certainly really addicting going from one challenge to the next and discovering them all across the city. On top of that, there's a lot of different cars that you can unlock. One of them that's my favorite is the Ghostbusters car, where basically it's modeled after the Ecto-1. And so I really liked playing with that one. But again, there's a bunch of other cars that you can choose from. And if you're looking for a new racing game to play with some cool open world mechanics and a ton of fun cars to drive, I definitely recommend it. The next game on today's list is The Takeover. And so The Takeover is an arcade-style, side-scrolling beat-em-up that's highly inspired by classic beat-em-ups like Streets of Rage and Final Fight. And so the general storyline of the game is that the city has been overrun by gangs. There used to be a ton of different gangs across the city, but now they've merged into one super crime syndicate. And on top of that, they've actually kidnapped your adoptive daughter, and you and your friends will team up to take on this crime organization and rescue your kidnapped adoptive daughter. And so there's several different playable characters that you can choose from. Each one have a little bit different style. They do play similar, but they are broken up with some different stats, with things like their range and speed and power. And so you'll have a general punch attack, a general kick attack, but you'll also have a special ability that you can use that does sacrifice some health, and eventually you also build up a rage meter that you can unleash, which makes you temporarily invincible, so you can take out a lot of enemies if you time it right. The game feels a little bit slower, so you really need to be tactical with how you take out enemies. It has challenging bosses and also some cool comic book-like cutscenes and additional levels beyond the general beat-em-up stages to really spice up the game. So there's like a car chase level, an airplane level, and much more. You'll be able to find a variety of weapons that you can pick up, like swords and guns. But overall, it's a really fun beat-em-up game. It's a great price right now, and I definitely recommend it. The next game on today's list is Mortal Kombat 11. And so if you're a fan of the Mortal Kombat series, this game is on a major discount right now. But the general story of the game gets pretty crazy. It involves time travel and trying to save the world. And so not only will you face off against some of your favorite characters throughout the series, but you get to see them in their present form as well as their early form from some of the classic games. And so that's a lot of fun to see these two versions of your favorite characters interacting. Now, one thing that's really cool with the game is that all of your characters can be highly customized. So there's a bunch of different costumes and styles that you can use for your characters, even some slightly different abilities that you can equip among them, even if you're playing as some of your favorites. And so the game has your basic fighting modes, your online fighting modes, but there's also some things called challenge towers where you'll be faced off against unique battles with some crazy challenging elements thrown in the mix. And there's also a crypt area that you can explore, and both of those can be used to find these new cosmetic enhancements for your characters. Now, the downside to this is that it can get pretty grindy, but it definitely gives you a lot of unlockables, so if you enjoy that element of fighting games, that's a cool thing that you can tap into. It does have some really great tactical combat for the game though. There's a huge roster of characters, and if you've been a fan of the Mortal Kombat series and want to check out this latest entry, it's on a massive discount right now, and it's the perfect time to pick it up. The next game on today's list is Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2. And so this is definitely one of my favorite Dragon Ball games, and it features a new storyline that takes place in sort of an alternate universe where you play as a hero that you custom build yourself and become a member of the Time Patrol. And so what happens is you'll team up with the Supreme Kai of Time as well as Future Trunks and go throughout time correcting anomalies in the timeline. And so again, you'll go against classic elements from the Dragon Ball series, and you'll need to make sure the timeline happens as it should. Now this is cool because you do get to visit some of those classic areas from the series, but it's also not just rehashing the exact same story you've seen a dozen times. But I think where this game really stands out is its overall character creation. And so you have a bunch of different races that you can choose from, like the Nameks, the humans, the Saiyans, Frieza's race, Boo's race, and more. And on top of that, you're able to completely customize your character's moveset from all of the different moves throughout the series. So you could have a character launching a Kamehameha wave, a Destructo Disc, Gallic Gun, and much more, all at the same time. And so it's really cool to build out your character, their look, or even build yourself like you'd be in the anime. And so it's a lot of fun. And it really combines not only this 3D fighting game, but it's also kind of like an MMORPG mixed with that at the same time. There's team-up battles where you can battle it out with players online, as well as massive boss battles to take on huge enemies and much more. This game is a ton of fun, and if you're a Dragon Ball fan, I think you'll really enjoy this game as well, and it's definitely worth a pickup. The next game on today's list is Cat Quest. And so this is a cat-themed open-world action RPG, and it's really the perfect blend of corny puns, addicting gameplay, and a classic lighthearted RPG. And so in this game, you play as a young cat hero that goes on a quest across Feline Guard to rescue his kidnapped sister. And so that really moves you throughout the game, but there's a ton of different side quests that you can explore, lots of hidden secrets, many dungeons you can explore, and a really addictive gameplay that's a whole lot of fun. There's a lot of different armor types and weapon types that you'll find throughout the game as well. And it has a really fun and addicting feature for upgrading items where you'll go to the blacksmith, and it's almost like a game show where you can choose from different chests, and you're not really sure what item will be leveled up, but whatever item you pick levels up that item to become even better. And so the gameplay is really fun, the story is hilarious, it's not incredibly long, it's probably only going to take you about 10 hours to get through, but if you haven't yet played Cat Quest, I definitely recommend it. The final game on today's list is Blazing Beaks. And so Blazing Beaks is a roguelike twin-stick shooter dungeon crawler, and you'll pick from a variety of different bird characters like ducks and parrots and chickens and even more, and you'll blast your way through many different levels, taking on enemies and challenging bosses. And so as you go throughout levels and kill enemies, you'll be collecting new items and gold that you can then use to power up your character. And another neat thing about this is you'll pick up relics throughout each run, but they're sort of a debuff or a negative curse for your character that hinder your abilities, making it more difficult to complete the area. But if you're able to make it to the next shop, you're actually able to sell them for high profits and even more items and weapons for your character. The game has challenging boss fights, cool pixel art graphics, and a highly addicting gameplay. And so if you like twin stick shooters and dungeon crawlers, with a funny overarching story. I think you'll enjoy this game as well. But again, that wraps up our list of 10 new Nintendo Switch eShop deals worth buying, all under $10 in this latest eShop sale. And so if you're going to pick up any of these games, let us know in the comments below, or if you've played them before, let us know your thoughts on these games. And if you like this video, be sure to hit that like button as it really helps out the channel. And if you like videos like this on video games, board games, and everything nerdy, check out one of our other videos here. And if you haven't done so yet, be sure to subscribe and turn on the bell notifications to get the latest updates of new nerd videos we put out, and to make sure you don't miss out on any future sale videos so you can take advantage of these great deals. But once again, thanks for tuning in, and we'll talk to you more soon.